Hello everyone, TheSkilledRoy here, back with another Legends of Runeterra video. It's been a little bit now since we've had the chance to play the amazing Path of Champions game mode, and we're all still recovering from the absolutely incredible showcase of animation that was Arcane. But little would you know it, we actually have a new expansion coming to Legends of Runeterra soon, and it's full of new cards, but more importantly, new champions. So, who are those champions going to be? Well, here are my bets. As always, when we start these off, we gotta know what we're working with. So far, the Bandle City expansion as a whole should have a new champion for every previous region, and then enough for Bandle City to then match that number. That means we're looking at 9 total champions for the other regions, bringing them to a total of 8 non-event champions. This means Bandle City will also need 8 new champions for a final total of 17 champions. So far, in the first expansion of Bandle City, we have seen 9 champions, which leaves 8 champions remaining for the last 2 expansions. Now, I'm just going to assume they're gonna try to keep the numbers equal here and make both of the following expansions have 4 champions each. Furthermore, we can also probably assume that there's probably going to be about 2 Bandle City champions and 2 non-Bandle City champions in each of these expansions, as this is the only way to guarantee equality across both of the card expansions. So, let's get started. First off, the second everyone saw the title of this expansion, we all knew who was referring to. The absolute definition of a magical misadventure is the champion Yumi. But what region is she going to be? Well, I think many of you may think it's obvious as her home is Bandle City. Here's the thing. It's been pretty clear based on how they're willing to place Ziggs and Shurima of all places that they're interested predominantly in ensuring that each Bandle City champion, besides Tristana, are split into one of the remaining regions. Out of the regions remaining, I think the only obvious answer here is that Yumi is going to be a Bandle City and Targon champion. We can tell this because of the existing Bandle City and Targon follower, Loping Telescope. Loping Telescope is pretty clearly an object that has gained sentience and has these small little animal familiars attempting to deal with him. You'll notice that it's a very similar dynamic to that of Yumi, an animal familiar, and her partner Book, who is a book. And if you don't believe me, that's totally fine, but listen to the narrative editorial director of Riot Games, Laurie Golding. Laurie directly compares these to magical mice, calling them similar to the magical cat Yumi. Seeing as many followers of champions match the similar design points to the champion, it's not too hard to see that this is probably going to be a Yumi follower, and thus Yumi is going to be a Bandle City Targon champion. But that's not the only hint we've gotten so far. You see, during the Bandle City cinematic, we got this cute story of Ava trying to help the Bandle Scouts. However, we didn't see how her story would end just yet. Instead, we see her being told to head to Ionia by Caitlyn before fading to a "to be continued." So it's almost certain that we're going to see Ionian champions when Ava goes there, and they're devoting an entire section to the cinematic to Ionia. So let's start with Yordles. When it comes to Yordles, there's basically only one real choice here, and that is Kennen. Kennen has been synonymous with the region for a very, very long time, has deep lore and connections to the region. It's entirely possible they throw us a curveball like they did with Ziggs, but given that I know there's another curveball coming in the final Bandle City expansion, I really don't think they're going to try to subvert our expectations on this one. I think they'll play it straight and they'll give us Kennen as the Ionian and Bandle City Yordle. So the next question that follows that, of course, is what champion is going to be the pure Ionian representative? Now, I know a lot of people have been guessing things like Ivern or Zayan Rakan or Akali. I think these would be all great, don't get me wrong, but I think I know what's really going to happen. You see, the issues with champions like Ivern is that there is thematic overlap. When it comes to the whimsical themes, Bandle City already has you covered. And if you look at every other champion chosen thus far, every single one is more of a dark or more serious character besides maybe Nami. So why is that? It's because if you have an expansion all about cute and whimsical creatures, you should probably find a balance. If Ionia chooses someone like Ivern for this, it's just going to create too much thematic overlap. So who is it then? Well, when it comes to Magical Misadventures, who else but the magical Ionian who just went on one hell of a misadventure in Bilgewater, and that is Ahri. I think Ahri is almost certainly going to come for a wide variety of reasons. Obviously, she's incredibly popular and marketable, one of the most so in all of League of Legends, but she also just got a follower card already. Matriarch here is a card from the first part of Bandle City that directly features Ahri right with her. Now I know what you're thinking, what about all the other references to future champions on other cards? They're not there yet. But you see, this card doesn't just have a small reference to another champion, or have them off in the background or in the shadows. Instead, Ahri is front and center. As I said before, followers often match the style and design of their respective champion, and the full art of this card reveals the Vastaya woman to seemingly be another Fox Vastaya, just like Ahri. We also know that because Ahri was recently voice acted in Ruin King, her voice actor, Laura Post, had to come into the recording studio recently. This means they could have had her voice Ruin King, as well as her upcoming Legends of Runeterra cards, because as we know, Legends of Runeterra works about 2 years in advance. Speaking of significance of years, we are coming up on a big event, namely the Ariversary. The Ariversary is an upcoming event celebrating the creation of Ari, where she is getting a new splash art on some of her skins, as well as a new chroma for each of them. This event is likely coming around right around her release date, December 14th, which, of course, is right around the release window of the upcoming Legends of Runeterra event. Between the marketability, existing on cards already, the availability of her voice actor, and a literal event dedicated entirely just to her, I think it's fairly likely that Ari is going to be coming in the next expansion as the solo Ionia champion. Now this leaves us with one final champion. And I'm not gonna lie, this one is pretty tough. I don't have a clear answer on this one, but let me show you my theory and how I sort of went through the process of elimination. You see, since we know that this last champion can't be a Yordle because of the even split of 2 Yordles and 2 non-Yordles, we have to choose between Targon, Demacia, and Freljord. So firstly, let's eliminate Freljord. You see, on the title screen of the initial release of Bandle City, we got to see Ava looking into 3 portals, the middle one representing the next set, which was Ionia. This of course matched with her cinematic. But the portal on the far right was clearly Snow and Freljordian. This means that Freljord is likely going to be the last set, because the first portal represented the first set because it had Piltover and Zon in it. So with Freljord eliminated for being in the second set, next we have to decide between Targon and Demacia, the last 2 regions remaining. Both aren't bad options, but there is a crucial thing to note. If you do Targon here, that means there's only 2 regions that are realistically getting cards this expansion, because Ari and Kennen will be Ionia, and if you give a Targon champion to match Yumi, you're looking at 4 champions for just 2 regions, not counting Bandle City of course. So for the sake of balance, it seems much more likely that they're going to go with another region besides Targon, and therefore I think it's going to be Demacia. So what solo Demacia region champion should it be? Well, thankfully, Magical Misadventures cuts down a lot of the Demacia champions, because only realistically it leaves Silas, Sona, and Galio as they are the most predominant members of Magical Demacia. The most difficult part here is that none of these 3 are super prone to misadventures, so instead I'm going to have to go with theming them based on their original Yordle. You see, each region's Yordle so far has matched their respective champion. So for example, Senna and Vhagar both work together on the theme of darkness, and Caitlyn and Teemo work together on traps. Therefore, we have to look at Poppy to see which is the best bet here. Poppy is all about attacking and giving buffs to allies. Neither of these themes really suits Silas that much, so I think it's safe to eliminate him. However, when it comes to spreading wide buffs, Sona is the hallmark for that. But at the same time, the eager to fight Galio would synergize really well with the wide board that Poppy likes, as he is known as a defender, someone who could protect the board that Poppy needs to pop off. So we are at a bit of a conundrum here. Both of these characters could be described as having magical misadventures in some kind, thanks to Sona's entire character arc, and Galio even now traveling to the Freljord to help save Lux. So honestly guys, I'm gonna leave it to you. Let me know what you think it is. Is it Sona coming in with even more AoE buffs for Poppy, or is it Galio helping protect the board while Poppy comes in for the next big swing? Now I know you guys probably want me to say exactly who it's going to be and not fence sit here, and honestly this is basically going to be a 50-50, so here we go. I think it's going to be Galio. Not for any real reason, but because of an old lore story. Back before the lore was rewritten for League of Legends, Poppy actually inspired Galio to join the league. Now, how fitting would it be if she foreshadowed his arrival just as she had done before in League of Legends? Of course, I doubt anyone even remembers the old lore that much to schedule a release schedule around it, but it's a funny thought. So my final choices are going to be Yumi for Targon and Bandle City, Kennen for Ionia and Bandle City, Ari for Ionia, and then finally Galio for Demacia. But anyways, that's all for me today. Thank you everyone so much for watching. I really appreciate you guys coming through. If you guys have any questions about anything, please feel free to DM me either on Discord or on Twitter. My links to each of those will be in the description below. But otherwise, that is it. Thank you so much again for watching. I will see you all next time. Peace out.